only show that's 3 dimensions away from Pinocchio, starring in a multiverse of Pinocchios to stop a greater Pinocchio. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at Pinocchio from the 1930s classic of Disney. Pinocchio was a movie that was made based on the book that originally was created. It was a book that now is in public domain, which Disney at the time made it, and also they created some stuff. So of course now they can't necessarily, like, obviously if they make a Pinocchio movie, which they are currently making another Pinocchio movie, which is from Guillermo del Toro, so you can also make thousands of Pinocchios. You could do like the Winnie the Pooh situation, and you could make like a Pinocchio serial killer, or and so there's lots of things you could do with Pinocchio, but you can't do certain things because Disney does own certain trademarks of it. And I've always had a fun time with Pinocchio. I've always been a fan of the movie. I've watched the movies thousands of times. I've had it on VHS several times over the years, and then of course on DVD, then Blu-ray, of course. And I'm a big fan of Pinocchio, and I love Pinocchio. Pinocchio's a fantastic movie, and I have not seen the Tom Hanks movie yet. I'm going to watch it this weekend. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm going to. In fact, after I do this video, I'll probably pop up on there. I am a huge fan of Pinocchio. I really am a huge fan of Pinocchio. I've always been a fan of the Pinocchios there because it's a fascinating story. It's about like a grown man who wants a little boy. I mean, in that context, it doesn't seem right, But I believe Geppetto, even though his name even sounds suspicious, he has true intentions. I'm sure he's not a pedo, even though his name is Geppetto. I'm sure he has good intentions, or else the fairy wouldn't give him a bad wish. I'm sorry. I just thought about that. Like, yeah, it does kind of sound suspicious. I've always been a fan of the story since a kid. You never think about that story as a kid. I've never read the book, but I have seen the Disney movies a bunch of times, and I've always been a fan of the live-action movie they did in the 90s with Jonathan Taylor Thomas and Martin Landau, called The Adventures of Pinocchio. I've always been a fan of that movie. I mean, my aunt had it on VHS, and I borrowed it over and over again and brought it. I even brought it to school for first grade one time. I watched it on VHS there, and it was a fun movie. I really enjoyed the movie. In fact, I'm going to look that movie up and see if that's available too, so that way if I don't like the Tom Hanks one, I can go watch that one. It'd suck if I don't like the movie as I remember it, and then I hate both versions. That would suck. Maybe I'll like both versions. Who knows? But I've always been a fan of Pinocchio. Every time there's an adaptation, like the last one I really wanted to watch was something from 2002, but it was all in Spanish, and I was like, it's too much reading, so I didn't watch it. I was like, which I'm that way. If there's too much reading, unless it's dubbed, I just don't watch it. That's why I don't like watching anime, or like, I was gonna Inglourious Basterds. I've seen it twice because it's really hard to sit there and read the whole movie. And so I'm just one of those people that I don't like. If it's dubbed, that's like Squid Game. I had to watch it dubbed because I'm like, I can't read all that stuff, And which that's some people. Some people are like that. Some people aren't. But I've always been a fan of the story about Jiminy Cricket. It's like the narrator of the story that of course Geppetto wants this puppet boy, and then of course he gets that. The fairy brings him to life, and of course. And then of course he's a real boy, and Jiminy Cricket's supposed to look after him, even though after Jiminy Cricket, gets the thing, oh, you're gonna look after him, and then he just F's off, and then it's like, okay, yeah, you're a good guardian, Jiminy. And then of course a fox gets Pinocchio to go to Pleasure Island, and then they turn him into they give him this smoke and drink, and then they turn into donkeys, and Pinocchio only turns into half a donkey because he's half a boy, which I'm just like, there's a lot of innuendos in that book, It's like, everybody in this, Geppetto, man that wants a little boy, they go to Pleasure Island, I mean, yeah. Kind of wonder if the Arthur's true intentions wasn't revealed in the book, But also, there's a funny joke in Family Guy that makes me laugh every time I watch Family Guy. Every time I think of Pinocchio, I always think of that scene in Family Guy. It's a scene where, I guess it's a cutaway scene from Family Guy where Pinocchio, they're watching Geppetto, is watching Pinocchio, or the Family Guy, Peter or somebody's watching Pinocchio, and they're like, we now return to Pinocchio. And then, Geppetto's, drops his glasses and says, oh no, I dropped my glasses, Pinocchio! He said, did you eat the last cookie? It's okay, you don't have to tell the truth. And the Pinocchio's like, yes, Papa, I did eat it. No, it's okay, you can lie. It's okay. And he goes, no, I did eat it. Well, can't you just say a lie? because again, he's bent over, and and like if he tells a lie, it goes straight, and so that's. And also the Pinocchio has always had some fun. Like we've always had fun with Pinocchio throughout the years. Obviously, if you watch Shrek, obviously he has like one of the greatest jokes in Shrek 2, where he's like, Donkey's like, say something crazy like I'm wearing a lady's underwear, and he goes, I'm wearing a lady's underwear, and they're like, nothing happened. Like, are you? He goes, no. Well, you most certainly are. No, I'm not. Gets longer. Goes, what is it? And he goes, it's a thong. It's not. Gets longer. It's too. It's just like Pinocchio's always had. We always had laughs with Pinocchio, but it's fun, I will say this is a classic Disney movie, and I know some people say, well, like, well, they smoke and drink in that movie, and that's not appropriate for kids to see, and I get it, but at the same time, this is called pleasure. The themes of it is. They're trying to corrupt your kids. It's almost like saying, okay, what are two things in that time period you corrupt kids with? Okay, alcohol and cigars. So, it's kind of saying, like, nowadays, video games and all that other stuff, like, video games and pornography and, overeating and, and weapons, those, are like the pleasures of, the kind of mess up kids, so that would really be like the modern day Pinocchio. But I doubt we're gonna see that in the remake. I really truly it's possible, but I really would doubt if like they pull out Fortnite and some porn and like some guns and stuff and some weed, and they're like, hey, you want some porn, weed, and some Fortnite? And they're like I'd be like, this is what I would say. I'd go, I was not expecting that. They had me. I was not expecting that. It makes no sense because this is like in the 30s or like the 1900s, but I was not expecting that. They really got me. Really. And I will say, like, the cast, the cast is really great. These voice actors who are no longer with us, unfortunately, did a great job. And this was, a time movie. This movie came out at a time where they were not making movies that much because they were just doing cartoons because the war was starting up at the time and everything with the Nazis and everything in that World War II, and so they were like focused. This was like I think the last movie that really came out that was a financial success, and it wasn't be until like the 50s that where we'd get another movie that was financially. That's why Disney would just do cartoons after in theaters, because they're like, we can't financially afford to make these movies at the time because of the war, and which it sucked. But at the time, Pinocchio was a great movie. And it still holds up. Like, it's on Disney Plus, watch it. I understand there's some disclaimers saying, like, oh, this is not appropriate for kids. But just watch it. Kids, if they can play Fortnite, they can watch Pinocchio. It's a harmless movie. And a buddy of mine were talking, I was talking with someone, about a buddy of mine that says, do you think this movie would be relevant today to the kids? The kids that, are like 10 years old. Do you think they'd watch that, or they'd watch like the new one with Tom Hanks? And I'm like, really, it just depends. Really, if you're a parent, like you're raising your kids that like, hey, I'm going to show you classic stuff, then yeah. But if you're a parent that's like, I only want to show you new stuff, then they're probably not going to watch this. But I would say watch it at least once. Show them at least once. If you can show them Star Wars, the original trilogy, let them watch Pinocchio once. Come on. Worst case scenario, they don't like it or they find it boring. Best case scenario, they watch it and they love it. Because Pinocchio is, everyone should experience that movie once, because it literally is like, it's almost like it punishes the children for trying to say like, okay, you're basically like a child, like he's supposed to go to school, he doesn't go to school, so then like, because he listens to this fox, and then they go, and of course he takes them at Pleasure Island where they turn into jackasses, like literally smoking cigars, or and then they're drinking beer. It shows you like the ramifications of the punishment. And also they have to fight a whale too for some reason. And so it has all these classic traits of this Disney movie, so much so to where like you see at the end when he's a donkey in a cage, you understand like, okay, he screwed up big time when he should have just went to school and everything would have been fine. And I think that's what's so unique about this story, is like it shows you like the harm, like, oh, it's just harmless fun that turns into like, no, you're committing you're doing something horrible, and you're committing like almost like a crime in a way, to where you're being punished for your sins, and that's, I really think that's what makes it so unique, and it really shows you the Disney message of like, okay, this is the sins of like the son will be the sins of the father, in the sense of like that which it makes sense in a way, and I've always appreciated that message in Pinocchio. And if I had to give this movie a grade, I mean, I'm sorry, but I have to give it a solid A+. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much. I